Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio. I am your host, Ed Dentzel. It's another beautiful day. It was a beautiful day whenever you're listening to this. I never am sure what to say. What tense of that noun or tense of that verb am I supposed to use? It was a beautiful day in Madeira Beach today, and it's been beautiful for several days. Once again, I'm going to say it. Perfect time of the year. You ever want to come to Florida, have a great time, when the weather is nice, the temperature is just perfect, March, April are about as good as it's going to get. Maybe February too. February, March, April is about as good as it's going to get. I would say that like September, October, November are nice too, but then you got to worry about the rain, maybe a hurricane hits, something like that, whereas you don't have to worry about hurricanes at the beginning of the year, in the first half of the year. So it's just been beautiful. Just leave the windows open at night and just sleep. The wind goes through my little place here. I get a little breeze going. It's just, I could sleep for days. For days. I want to give you an update about my gun, my Glock 19 that I love so much. If you are into guns, maybe you're thinking about buying a gun, you're maybe watching a lot of videos on YouTube like I did before I got mine. There are some of those videos that say that the Glock 19, which is the compact, it's not the full-size version of the 9mm that Glock makes. It's the one step smaller. Some people think that that gun is too big, still too big, and too heavy to personally carry. You're going to see a lot of people write and say on videos that the Glock 26, which is even a smaller, the subcompact version, still a double-stacked magazine, but it's a smaller version of my gun, is about as large as you want to go for concealed carry. I'm going to say that I disagree with that. In fact, I would say that my gun is perfect for concealed carry, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. I now have two different kinds of holsters for it. I got a MIC holster, M-I-C, which is minimal inside the waistband carry. I think is what it stands for, M-I-C. And I use that when I wear jeans. And I've worn that out. Has been perfectly fine. Tuck it into my... for that, I tuck it in the front, what they call Mexican carry. It's not to be a racial thing. You look that up. There's a reason it's called that. Has nothing to do with any sort of racism or making fun of any particular people. But that's the way I carry that gun. Shirt over top, decent sized shirt. I look good. Can't even tell it's on me. Very comfortable. And even in Florida weather. And then I also got, because I also sometimes wear what I would call athletic pants, where they're kind of that, what are they, almost like a plastic material, you know, kind of nylon or whatever it is. Pants like that Nike make or a company like that, Adidas, whatever, with a drawstring. Can't use the holster that I use for my jeans with these athletic pants. So I got this holster from a company called Remora, R-E-M-O-R-A, and I had a chance to try that out in public yesterday, and it also worked great. And the Remora holsters are all the kind that they don't attach to anything. They're just made of a material, like a non-slip material, that you can fasten between your body and material. And then when you tie it tight, that holster is not going to go anywhere. And I was able to wear it in my car. And then I went into Walmart carrying my gun, allowed to do that. Of course, under a shirt, couldn't even tell. Was comfortable, so I would recommend that as well. Once again, with my Glock 19 that some people think is too big of a gun to conceal carry. It's just not the truth. It's just not. So if you're thinking about getting a concealed carry gun, now maybe the Glock 17 would be too big. I don't know. I've never even fired one of those or even held one in my hand. I don't know. But the Glock 19, perfect size in my opinion for concealed carry. Of course, with it, you get plenty of firepower. 15 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. you got more than enough firepower there. You don't have to go down to a smaller gun, even a smaller gun, or even the single stack 9mm that Glock makes to be able to carry it, to carry a particular Glock weapon. All right? And I would go to say that, if you're not into Glocks for whatever reason, if some other company, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, whatever the case may be, makes a similar size gun to the Glock 19, I would say that would be the case with those guns as well. And as I've always told you, I'm 5'9", 175 pounds, pretty average size guy, and I don't wear really, really baggy clothes or anything like that, and it's perfectly fine. So I would look up the MIC holster, MIC, online. I was also look up the Remora holster. I think they're both quality products. They're not paying me to advertise for them. I'm just telling you. For all you Second Amendment lovers out there, men and women who are thinking about getting into owning your own gun, carrying your own gun, you should think about the Glock 19 and those holsters. I think that combination, you're really going to like it. All right, just in my tests so far, going out in public with them. So let's get to the show. Marco Rubio, he's coming very dangerously close to endorsing Ted Cruz, isn't he? He did an interview with Mark Levin. I did not watch it. I just read a couple excerpts from it. I didn't read the transcript, but I know that he said that there's only one conservative left in this race, and that is Ted Cruz. Now, you know that Marco Rubio has not ended his campaign. He's only suspended his campaign, and there's reasons that these politicians who drop out don't say that they're ceasing their campaigns. That means something. Those words, in contrast to just suspending, to the layman, it may sound like the same thing, but legally, it's not. And what that means is, in Marco Rubio's case anyway, being that he did get a decent amount of delegates in the time that he was still in the race, if he were to say that he was closing up his campaign, then those delegates are free to do whatever they want. They become people who, when you get to the convention, can just go willy-nilly. They could all go to Ted Cruz. They could all go to Donald Trump. They could go anywhere. Whereas when he says that he's just suspending his campaign, that means that those delegates are still under his control for now. Now, of course, there's some speculation. What does that mean when it gets to the convention? I mean, he can't suspend. He can't. Marco Rubio can't say that his campaign is suspended forever. At some point, his campaign is going to end for 2016. And then the question will be, well, what can he do? Can he, quote-unquote, force those delegates to go in a particular direction? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, delegates aren't robots. Hey, if there's ever been any time in history that we're learning about delegates and what they can do and what they can't do and the power over them, it's been like the last 4 months, right? So I'm thinking that hearing what I think I'm hearing from from Marco Rubio is that eventually he's going to end his campaign and he's going to ask his delegates to go over and vote for Ted Cruz, and which, of course, it will be one more reason that Donald Trump will have a harder time getting to that 1237 number. All right? So there's that part of it. There's that part of it. I think that Marco Rubio wants to still control those delegates so they just can't go off and do whatever they're going to do. There's another part to this, and of course, when Marco Rubio was still in the race, there was speculation, and I dare even say hope, that he and, if he was going to stick around, that he and Ted Cruz would just get together and, work on Donald Trump, 2 against 1, I guess you could say, And a little bit of that did happen before Marco Rubio dropped out. But the speculation is of a Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio ticket. I still don't see that happening, despite what Marco Rubio said in this interview, saying some nice things. Wasn't an endorsement, just some nice thing about Ted Cruz, even though we know the two of them had some pretty good back and forths in some of those debates. It doesn't feel like that to me, that he's going to accept a vice presidential slot. And I think he's even come out and said that he's not going to do that. Would he turn down a Secretary of State job? I don't know. Would he turn down an ambassadorship? Probably. That's probably not the way Marco Rubio would go either. Would he turn down... Could he be Attorney General? Do you think he has enough law experience to be Probably not. Couldn't be probably Attorney General. Probably not Secretary of Defense. I think you're going to have to make somebody with a little bit more of a defensive background, military background. I'm not saying the person had to have served in the military. I'm not saying that, but somebody who's has been dealing with the military environment, the military community for several years, I think would be a better choice for whoever would become Secretary of Defense in a Ted Cruz administration. So you start thinking about it, and there's really only one or maybe two places that you could see Marco Rubio fitting in a Ted Cruz administration. And that's why I think that Marco Rubio is saying this because he genuinely believes it. I don't believe he's saying it because he's trying to kiss up. I just don't get that feeling. Once again, going back to, I'm trying to see where he would be in a Ted Cruz administration, and I just don't see it. And from Ted Cruz's point of view, if he were to get the nomination, historically, the president, or the nominee, I should say, picks somebody who would help him in a certain segment. I guess we could go back to 1960 with John F. Kennedy. Needed some help in the South, so he picked Lyndon Johnson, which has to be one of the more curious combos of presidents and vice presidents in modern history, I would say. Go to 1980, Reagan wanting to put the Republican Party back together after a tough primary fight in 1980, and even going back to 1976. He picks Bush 41. You could see some ways that presidents have picked vice presidents for strategic reasons, not because necessarily they're friends with them. Now, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, kind of the same guy. Kinda. But maybe with Barack Obama, Joe Biden, the insider, Barack Obama, even though he was a senator for a short while, coming in kinda from the outside. Maybe you could make that argument. Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, there's another contrast. And then, of course, maybe the biggest one of the 21st century, John McCain, Sarah Palin. And so you get back to Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and you really start thinking about it in that, framing it that way. And you see there isn't much of a contrast between Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. Not to say that they're the same person. They're not. And we know, given their arguments that they had during these debates, that they do have differences. But what would Marco Rubio really bring to a Ted Cruz candidacy? Hard to say. I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's not certainly a lot. You can't say that Ted Cruz would pick Marco Rubio because Marco Rubio is Hispanic. That doesn't fly. there isn't some sort of demographic, ethnic reason to pick Marco Rubio. There isn't even a geographical reason to pick Marco Rubio because they're both from the South. Marco Rubio from Florida, Ted Cruz from Texas. Now, it could be that Ted Cruz could pick Marco Rubio maybe in hopes of sewing up Florida, but I don't even know that's the case. Marco Rubio didn't even win his state in the primary, so you can't say that. So you start looking at it in that way, and you figure out that there's not much for Ted Cruz to gain by picking Marco Rubio as a vice president. So Marco Rubio would have to end up somewhere else in an administration if you believe that he's saying these things to Mark Levin as a way to kiss up to Ted Cruz. And that's why when I get through all of this, I say, I think he's just saying this because he believes it. And I think Marco Rubio at this point is fine with going back into the private sector. And truth is, I don't think he has much to worry about. He's going to be paid to give a lot of speeches, and he's going to be able to separate himself from whatever goes on, maybe for better or for worse. We don't know who's going to get elected at this point. So I think he's just being genuine. He's being very genuine in saying what he said about Ted Cruz. And he's going to go on his way, and maybe we'll see him somewhere down the road getting back into politics. I just don't think that he's certainly not going to have any position in a Donald Trump nomination or presidency. And it just doesn't feel to me that now, anyway, that Ted Cruz would pick him for anything. I just don't see it. I just would have a hard time. There are a lot of other people that Ted Cruz could pick should he get the presidency as far as cabinet positions. And of course, the big decision he would have to make was with vice president. I think it's much more likely that Ted Cruz would pick Carly Fiorina, somebody like that, a woman, a politician from that would make sense from California, somebody a little new to the scene. That would make a lot more sense. And also a little bit that she's, frankly, not as conservative as Ted Cruz is. A nice contrast there. That would make a lot of sense to me. Much more sense than picking Marco Rubio. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if I sat down and opened my notebook and started listing people, I could come up with 10 people, well-known Republicans, conservatives, men or women from all over the United States who would make a more logical choice for vice president than Marco Rubio. And it comes right down to it. I'm not sure Marco Rubio wants it anyway. I'm just trying to get behind the motivation for why he would say this to Mark Levin. And I've decided he's saying it just because he believes it. He's not looking for anything. And in that, I give Marco Rubio all the respect in the world. It's just, we haven't been thinking about him recently. He once again, I said this before and I'll say it again. It's weird how during this campaign, starting back last summer, you see these people every day. You go to websites, you see the videos, see the pictures, you see what they're saying. And then as soon as they suspend their campaigns, it's like they're automatically rocketed to Mars. It's like they totally disappear. And then somewhere down the road, boop, they pop back up. A couple months down the road, month down the road. It's like they take a month to just chill out, stay out of it, and then all of a sudden they're back in the news again. It's kind of like Marco Rubio. Since he suspended his campaign, had anybody seen him? What had he been doing? I don't know. In fact, the only person you could say that pretty much hasn't been like that is Ben Carson. And maybe that's no surprise given what a lot of people thought about his campaign anyway, that was really just a book tour. And he needs to keep marketing. So he's probably the only one that didn't kind of drop out. Like Jeb Bush, where did he go? He just disappeared. Bobby Jindal disappeared. Scott Walker disappeared. Carla Fiorina. Now she's back into it, but for a while she disappeared. So, like Martin O'Malley on the Democrat side. Has anybody seen him anywhere? What's he off on a safari in Africa? Who knows? So, there's that part of it. But I'm wondering if Marco Rubio is, once again, he hasn't endorsed, but I'm wondering if he's going to get out on the campaign trail and start working for Ted Cruz just to say nice things about him. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. I saw that at conservativereview.com. Speaking of presidential candidates or possible presidential candidates or pie-in-the-sky presidential candidates, at least for some people, Paul Ryan came out and stated for the record, pretty much unequivocally, that he has no interest in getting the Republican nomination should a contested convention happen. And in fact, he just said, I'm just not interested in the office at all. I have a question to ask. Was this ever really real? Now, what I mean by that is, I'll give you another example. How about Mitt Romney? Mitt Romney was going to run, decided not to. Decided last summer not to. But ever since then, I'm going to say, maybe 3 times since last summer, maybe in September, maybe in December, and then maybe February, the news kept popping up that people were still trying to enlist him to get back into the race, and then Mitt Romney felt like he needed to come out and once again state that this is not real, I'm not doing this, I'm not going to run. How many times do I have to say it? On and on and on. Now, once again, was that a real story? I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who like Mitt Romney. I know there are. I know there are a lot of Republicans who think he is exactly right on the issues. I think there are a lot of Republicans who look back at 2012 and see a missed opportunity. Okay? But does any of that, these years later, rise to the level that there's this undercurrent, this huge, like millions and millions of Republicans who still wanted him to get into the race? I wonder. I'm not saying there aren't a few. I'm not saying there aren't 1,000 or 10,000 or even 100,000. 100,000 sounds like a lot of people, but it's really not, considering that there are over 300 million people in this country. 100,000 is not that many people. And you got to remember that your average Republican candidate gets 60 million of the popular vote every 4 years, whether win or lose. So 100,000 people are not that many. So I know that there may be a decent amount out there who sit at home at night and say, man, that Mitt Romney, he would be the perfect president. But does that rise to the level that stories need to be written that Mitt Romney should get back into the race? Probably doesn't. It's just not realistic. Despite what maybe some people who leaders in the Republican Party may think that Mitt Romney is the perfect candidate. Well, that candidate would still have to go out and get some votes. So getting back to Paul Ryan, is it kind of the same thing? I know that Paul Ryan has fans. I know he has a lot of detractors. I know a lot of people didn't want him to be the next Speaker of the House. I pretty much didn't care one way or the other. I've been through this over and over and over. I don't want to get deep into it again. I'm neither pro Paul Ryan. I'm not anti Paul Ryan. I think Speaker of the House at this point is a thankless job. And I wouldn't want it, so I'm not going to criticize anybody who wants it. I'm not going to criticize anybody who doesn't want it. It's a thankless job. trying to herd those kittens around in the House, all 200 some Republicans. But he got enlisted. He's taken the job. He has to live with it. So when he gets out there yesterday and states that he has no interest in being president, were there really that many people who were pining for him to do that? Really? See, I just don't believe it. I just don't. I know that there are a lot of desperate people out there. Even maybe some Cruz supporters who are afraid that Donald Trump. See, my fear does not rise to that level. That I need to go out and start looking for somebody else. I like Ted Cruz. If he doesn't get the nomination, I'll live. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. That's just the way it is. But it would seem weird to me that there were Cruz supporters who, if they're afraid that Ted Cruz isn't going to win, would automatically think of Paul Ryan. There's just something about that doesn't seem right. Mainly the reason being that Paul Ryan is seen as now being somewhat of an insider and Ted Cruz as being the ultimate outsider in the Senate. It would seem weird to me that people would jet from one to the other. In addition, there weren't that many people who wanted Paul Ryan to be Speaker of the House. The people who didn't want him were much more vocal than the people who did want him. So there's that. And once again, is Paul Ryan getting out there to talk about this, and it's really just a false story? Once again, I know that there are people out there, just like Mitt Romney, there are people out there who would like Paul Ryan to be the nominee, just like they liked him when he got picked as a vice presidential running mate for Mitt Romney back in 2012. I get that. I get it. But these people, if they are Paul Ryan supporters and in the closet Paul Ryan supporters, don't they realize how big of a problem, a multifaceted problem that would be? Do they not understand that? And once again, I start thinking, is it a real story, or is it just something cooked up because people want something to talk about, like I think was going on with Mitt Romney? Just a few desperate people out there who are vocal enough that know how to get the correct reporter's attention, and the reporter's looking for a story, and the reporter's liberal, and what better way to gaslight Republicans than do a story about how Paul Ryan is thinking about taking the nomination in a contested convention. See, all of those scenarios are much more probable to me than there truly being a grassroots effort to get Paul Ryan nominated at a contested convention. So I hope, though, that what he said yesterday has put an end to that. Despite me not liking Donald Trump, I am of the opinion that if there's going to be a contested convention, whichever way it goes, then whoever gets the nomination should be somebody who actually ran, had his or her hat in the ring, participated in some of the debates, was in it long enough to be voted on at Iowa or in New Hampshire, at least a few of the states. That's my opinion. Now, I know that may mean somebody else might get nominated who I don't like, but I think that at some point you have to draw the line. Even though I know if you go back far enough in Republican politics, you're going to find where that hasn't been the case. Was it Grover Cleveland? No. James Garfield would be a good example of that. A guy who wasn't running at all, was somewhat of a campaign manager, and then after so many ballots at the convention, whatever year it was in the 1800s, he ended up getting the nomination. And you know what he got for that? He got shot. I mean, that wasn't the reason he got shot. But It's funny how that worked out. Didn't want to be president, became president, got shot. Probably doesn't get shot if he doesn't become president. So we can't go back far enough and find something like that, but just me personally, I think it should at least be somebody who actually ran, even if I don't like that person anyway. But I got to go to the break. You've been listening to the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio. And we are back at the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio. I want to move on to another topic, something I meant to get to yesterday, just ran out of time. Barack Obama did an interview this past weekend with Chris Wallace. Did not watch it. As you know, I don't have cable or satellite TV, any sort of dish TV. So I didn't watch it. I've seen a couple clips of it, and with Chris Wallace, Fox News once again, and read a little bit of a transcript with him. But there's a particular part that I want to pay attention to, and that is the issue of his attitude towards Hillary Clinton and this investigation that continues regarding specifically her email, the top secret emails that ended up on her private server, and the FBI investigation, and whether she's going to be indicted or any of her other people around her going to be indicted. And Barack Obama stated, now I know he said a lot of things in that interview, and you could pick each of it apart, and some things are contradictory, but one of the main points that came out of this interview was that he said that there would be no influence from the White House regarding this investigation. Do you believe that? I guess maybe to some conservatives, that's going to be a very easy question to answer no. No, I don't believe that for a second. He's going to manipulate it. He's going to make sure that the FBI, that Hillary Clinton never spends a day in jail, that nobody's indicted because they're all liberal hacks, they're all Democrats, they're all going to stay together, on and on and on. And I'm telling you, I know why the people think that way. I know why there are many millions of conservatives who share the same values that I do that think that this is all just a waste of time, because in the end, Barack Obama in the White House, his attorney general, whose name I forget right at this second, didn't write it down, are going to just play us all for suckers, and it's all just going to go away. Very easy to believe that. I want to offer a totally different, opposite opinion on that. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say, and I've talked about this topic on this show before, just not recently, that I look at what has gone on in Barack Obama's administration for the last 7+ years, and what I think I know about the guy. So I'm looking at the way he has behaved as president, just as a Democrat, and also what I think I know about the man. And if you look at his history, he is no Bill Clinton, in that Bill Clinton was a team player. As much as you want to say all this stuff about him, he wanted to get Democrats elected. He was more than happy to campaign for Democrats. He's more than happy to show up and shake hands and all of this stuff. He believed in getting Democrats elected by hook or by crook. Just a total in-the-tank Democrat, for not so much maybe the ideology, because we know as president, he went along with Newt Gingrich at least a few times, but as just a cheerleader for the Democrat Party, Bill Clinton is one of those types. All right? Barack Obama is not that. He's not. It's very easy to see. I mean, I remember the stories going back to 2010, 2012, even 2014, that Barack Obama had all this, we know that he's a fundraising machine, money-raising machine, raised more money to run for office than anybody in the history of the world. Had money left over, wouldn't give it to other Democrats. It was legal to do so, didn't want to do it. And there have been more than a few times that Barack Obama, in so many words, has said, you know what, if those Democrats want to get reelected, they're going to have to do it on their own. And we know, on top of that Barack Obama has a reputation for being somewhat aloof, doesn't make a lot notorious stories about never contacting Congress, just a totally the opposite way of running the executive branch in contrast to maybe any president before him. So I look at that and I say that sort of behavior could carry over into this thing with Hillary Clinton. Here's what I think Barack Obama knows about what went on with Hillary Clinton. I think that Barack Obama knows that the White House pretty much is going to escape unscathed from whatever happens. Whether you like it or not, that's going to be the truth. Even though you could say, well, look, you got these emails that we know that people in the executive branch went to Hillary Clinton. They knew that she was using an address that wasn't the State Department's address. No, I've told you once again, nobody pays attention to that stuff. Whether it's in government or I challenge you to tell me the email addresses of some of your closest friends. Because we know how it's no different than cell phones today. It used to be back in the 80s, you wrote people's numbers down or you memorized them because there wasn't a cell phone where you just looked for a person's name and you hit the person's name and the phone dials. Couldn't tell you. These days, people couldn't tell you what their best friend's number is. All they need to do is look that person's name up in their phone, in the call log. That's what kind of goes on with email today. So it's very possible that these people in the executive branch had no idea that Hillary Clinton, despite them emailing her at her address and getting emails from her. You understand that? And that's an argument that the executive branch would make should it come up somewhere down the road. And it's a decent argument. So getting back to Barack Obama and his attitude towards Hillary Clinton, I know that people think, well, he's going to do everything he can to get her to be president. I don't know that. What I think I know about Barack Obama is that he remembers what she and her husband said about him in 2008 when they were running against each other. And that goes far more to me in Barack Obama's mind than anything she might have done as Secretary of State. I add on top of it that one of the explicit instructions that Barack Obama and his people made to Hillary Clinton when she became Secretary of State is, you can't have anything to do with Sidney Blumenthal. Well, she kind of just blew that off. So I ask you, why would Barack Obama and his administration, his Attorney General, go out of their way to protect her? Well, she might have things on him. She's going to talk. She's not. She could bring them down with him. She's not going to do that.
Red State Talk Radio, feeding the hunger.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with PJTV, Zone Nation, and the founder and drummer of 20 Pound Sledge, and you're listening to RedStateTalkRadio.com, the dominant force in conservative internet talk radio.
I'm a mom, and just like millions of other women, that's why I own guns. We're responsible, we're law-abiding, and we're everything that makes America strong. Every day, we're willing to use a firearm to defend our families. But the media will never tell those stories. If a mom puts a gun to the face of a home-invading thug and makes him run for his life, the story gets buried. But if she's unarmed and murdered, the cameras will be at the scene before the police. It's time for moms like me to speak out. We are the majority. We demand the freedom to defend our families, and we challenge the media to tell the truth about our rights. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
What does it mean for a country when its citizens turn on the news and expect to be misled? Because the reporters who once served as freedom's fearless watchdogs feel like distant characters in a fading memory. Today, too many journalists are just actors, playing to their boss's script. Why tell the truth when you can sell a lie for more? There's a price to pay for all this dishonesty. If the free press won't protect free people, it's our job to demand they do it. Do the work you say you do. Aim your First Amendment against hypocrisy and corruption like a hammer of the people. Kick down the doors of any leader who deceives us, and never tolerate dishonesty from your own ranks. That's what the good guys demand. We're the 5 million men and women in the National Rifle Association of America, and we will not play along. Join us today.
This is Don Newen with Cowboy Logic Radio, and if you don't go to bed every night absolutely fatigued from trying to restore America from the destruction that is taking place, then you're simply not doing enough. Join me late night, Tuesday, early Wednesday, 12:05 a.m. for Cowboy Logic Radio on RedStateTalkRadio.com.
That would not be like Hillary Clinton to do that. Why? Because she's very much like her husband. She is a cheerleader for the Democrat Party. You can't say that about Barack Obama. You can't say that. This is why I continue to maintain he can't come out and say this, but I think I know who Barack Obama is. I don't think he gives a dang who the next president is. I don't think he gives a dang. I think that Barack Obama is a guy that looks at the United States and despises it for the American people not giving him more credit, not worshiping him more, not thinking that he is the greatest thing, the greatest president has ever lived. And because of that, he's thinking, you know what, guys? You deserve whoever you get. I know that I'm supposed to cheer for the Democrat. I know I'm supposed to cheer for Bernie Sanders. I know I'm supposed to cheer for Hillary Clinton. I'm just not going to do that. Because you have to also remember something else about Barack Obama. He's going to be the most belligerent former president that has ever lived. He's going to make Jimmy Carter look like George W. Bush. Jimmy Carter has spoken out a lot about the presidents who followed him. George W. Bush hasn't said a word, pretty much, about Barack Obama. Well, Barack Obama make Jimmy Carter look like, like a guy, look like a mute. And Barack Obama's thinking, you know what? I could get out there, and if a Republican gets elected, man, I can even be more belligerent than even if a Democrat gets elected. That is the way Barack Obama thinks. And I don't know why more people don't say it, don't realize it. So all of this goes through my mind, getting back to the reason I'm talking about this. What is he going to do regarding Hillary Clinton? See, you put it in the context that I just did, and you can see why I could see it going the other way, that he actually means it when he says, you know what, I'm just going to stay out of this. I think that Barack Obama sees her problem as a Hillary Clinton problem, not as an Obama administration from 2009 to 2012 problem. And he's pretty correct on that. And I've also told you it's totally within the possibility to me that if the investigation keeps going, that Barack Obama calls her up to the White House and says, you know what, Hillary, I could put an end to this investigation with the FBI right now, but you're going to have to drop out running for president. I think that I just don't. Barack Obama likes Hillary Clinton that much. I think he asked her to be Secretary of State, to keep her within the fold so she wouldn't be out there for the next 4 years criticizing him. And she was the idiot who took it. You know why? You know why she took that position as Secretary of State? To raise money for the Clinton Foundation. But Barack Obama asked her to keep her within the fold. He knew keeping Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, would calm her down and would keep Bill Clinton's mouth shut. He did not do it because he respects her, because he likes her. And that carries through to today. You know, we as conservatives, we get so caught up in some of the dynamics, how Democrats are going to cover for Democrats, and they're all going to be thieves together and everything. Sometimes you have to figure in the personality of the politician as well. And Barack Obama is me first, Democrat Party about 20th. About 20th. Now, you should also understand something else about all this, though. That if it doesn't go anywhere, that doesn't mean that Barack Obama and his administration had something to do with it. It very well could be, and I know she did things wrong. But I've told you, the FBI, I don't think, wants to get involved in a situation regarding elections in which they are bringing charges against a person who has a very good chance of getting the nomination in a prominent political party. I just don't see them wanting to get in the middle of that. So it may not even be that Barack Obama has to get involved. It may just be the FBI on its own saying, man, we are really going to look bad if we know that what she did was wrong, but aren't we basically just handing this over to the other political party by bringing charges against Hillary Clinton? Do they want to get involved in that? Now, I know that it's Hillary Clinton and her aides that put the FBI in this complex position. The FBI has to investigate it. It's not going to go away on its own. But that doesn't mean that charges are going to be brought. It just doesn't. I know it sucks. But it wouldn't take Barack Obama influence to come to that conclusion. Also, I just can't see Barack Obama, as much as he may not mind Hillary Clinton getting indicted, going out of his way to go to the FBI and say, you know what? I need you to make sure that you take this and wherever it's going to win. If Hillary Clinton, he's not going to be, and if Hillary Clinton did something wrong, I want you to know that you have to bring charges against her. He's not going to be that explicit either. He's not going to do that because that's the kind of stuff that somehow gets on the record. So even as much as he may not care where it goes, he's not going to be zealous about her prosecution either. He's just going to stay there right in the middle. He's just going to stay there right in the middle. And he's probably loving every second of this. Seeing Hillary Clinton go out there and make an idiot of herself every time she talks about this email issue. And the Clinton Foundation issue. And all of this. So it's a lot more complex than I think we as conservatives, regarding the politics of it, regarding the relationship between Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and her aides, and what the FBI is going to do. It's a lot more complicated than just, well, it's not going to go anywhere because Barack Obama doesn't want it to go anywhere. Just can't look at it that way. You have to look at what the pattern has been for him. And the pattern for him has been he has no problems with Democrats getting in trouble. And in fact, if you wrong Barack Obama, it seems more likely if the Democrat you're going to get in trouble. Remember Robert Menendez. And Barack Obama may feel the same way. She wronged me. I told her not to have anything to do with Sidney Blumenthal. Well, she did. She was going behind our backs. She was doing this. She was doing that. Okay. I could see that. Because in the end, Barack Obama is not a cheerleader for the Democrat Party. He's for the Barack Obama Party. And once he's gone, I don't think he gives a dang. I think the Democrats could lose every seat in the House, every seat in the Senate, and Republicans be president for the next 100 years, and I don't think that would bother him a bit. It would just give him more of an opportunity to gaslight conservatives, Republicans, for as long as Barack Obama is on this earth. That's the Barack Obama I know, and you can't throw that out in this discussion regarding him and this FBI investigation. Let's move on to something else before I go. Phyllis Schlafly, this once again a story I had yesterday I didn't get to. She is they're trying to kick her out of this conservative think tank that she started over 40 some years ago. It's called the Eagle Forum. And it's not going well. She's 91 years old. I don't necessarily know that. I don't think she's senile. I don't think she has Alzheimer's or anything like that. But since she came out a few months ago and endorsed Donald Trump for president, she has come under a lot of fire. And this is one of those topics, it just depends on which side of the argument you fall on. I guess if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you think that she is getting screwed over. She came out, she's an American citizen, she can voice support whoever she wants, and it's her forum, she's the one that started, she started the think tank, on and on and on. On the other hand, if you're an anti-Trump, never Trump person, like I am, you look at this and you say, the Eagle Forum is supposed to be a conservative think tank. Donald Trump is not conservative. Okay? And if the leader, no matter if it's the person who started it or somebody who since got elected to head it, comes out and expresses support for a politician, a political leader who is not conservative, then something has to be done, right? I mean, if the Heritage Foundation came out, the Cato Institute, the leader of any of these think tanks, somewhat being seen as conservative or libertarian, came out and said that they support Barack Obama, socialized medicine, abortion, the rest of it, that leader would be kicked out in days. But somehow Phyllis Schlafly doing this, some people get the idea that she should get to stick around. Well, she's the one that made it a conservative think tank, and when you don't act conservative and you still want to lead, there are going to be problems. That's the only advice I can give you regarding all this. So Phyllis Schlafly, the directors want to kick her out. I understand why, but I got to go. You can go to edwarddentzel.com to find all of my old Red State Talk Radio shows. You can also find them at SoundCloud, YouTube, Podbean, Podomatic. You can go to edwarddentzel.com/book where you can download the first chapter of my next novel called The Comebacks. That's for free. You can email me at edwarddentzel@reagan.com. Follow me on Twitter, Dentzel Domain. You can follow me at Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find me there. And it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. You've been listening to the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio.